Hello,
Welcome
everyone.
back to another edition of Launch Radio with your
two favorite people. I mean, having fun.
Look at this gentleman.
As always, Geoff and Kira.
Episode 19.
We are here.
Let's do it.
To chat with everyone. Launch Radio. So today, we always have a heck of a topic.
Yeah, we do. But before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone's subscribing to our podcast. Because I have had some people who are like, oh, I keep forgetting that you have a podcast. I'm like, hello, you should just subscribe. And then it notifies you. So we're on everything. All the platforms.
We are on Anchor. We are on Breaker. We're on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts.
Yeah. So check it out. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss a beat. Because today's edition is actually really interesting. We get inside our own brains and control them ourselves.
I mean, what is inside everyone's brain?
Well, correct. I mean, you've got all kinds of synapses, and really, truly, it's just energy. When you think about it, you know, using your brain to think about your own brain.
I mean, the power
of the brain.
Of the brain. Of the subconscious mind.
Correct.
What is happening inside our brain? Now, we all learn in psychology growing up, and when we're kids, we learn about the subconscious mind, and we're taught that we don't use most of our brain, that we only use a very small percentage. Is that correct?
That's correct. So only 5% of our brain is conscious. And 95% of it's unconscious. So, what that is that subconscious world, is that 95% is very controllable. You control your own reality based upon the way you talk to yourself, the way you make affirmations about your life. You create your own reality based upon how you decide to see things.
Some of us, like me, are probably only like 1% conscious or 0.5%, but we're getting there.
Yes.
We're getting there. Those of us, no. But yes, that's so interesting that everyone's 5%, but trying to get more by utilizing certain tools that we have that are in plain sight from what you were saying. But most people don't use them.
Right. I think we're just all kind of a bit robotic. We have these daily lives like, another thing I have to worry about is making a list of my gratitudes and law of affirmation, my affirmations in life. And it's like, I'm just trying to get to my 9-to-5 job, get home, watch some TV, veg out, and then go to sleep,
Yeah.
It's like another thing you have to pay attention to. But the thing is, what people don't truly understand is the power of your subconscious actually creates your reality. So though it might be an added thing that you have to focus on, it is you. That you can't, we always think, humans tend to think that we can control the 5%. The 5% is your cognitive, right? And it's truly just the command center.
Like your day-to-day.
Correct. Your day-to-day. And it voices orders to your subconscious. So whatever you say, your subconscious will take in and then apply immediately. That's its job. It's like the worker bees. They don't understand humor. If you're like kidding when you say something, it doesn't understand things. That's why you have to be extremely careful about the seeds you plant into your brain, because they will come to fruition. And the other thing is, like, subconscious doesn't understand negative, positive energy. It's just energy. So you could say something like, oh my God, I feel, that's why when you're sick, you're not supposed to be like, oh, I'm dying, I'm sick, because you feel more sick because your subconscious is you're making yourself believe that you're more sick than you actually truly are. And this has been proven in many, many cases. So hypnosis, psychology, the base of, Freudian psychology is based on the subconscious. All kinds of things that, truly showcase that unique power that we actually have in our brains to create our own reality.
So let me get this straight. So what I say and what I do in my day-to-day, especially what I tell myself, even if I don't necessarily mean it, like if I'm just having a bad day, that is very powerful as far as affecting the subconscious that I'm not aware of. And that subconscious influences, in turn, my future unbeknownst to me.
Absolutely. So, for example, a lot of people are like, oh, the money is the root of all evil. By you saying that, you're telling your subconscious to stay away from money. It doesn't understand nuances or dry humor, whatever it is. You cannot say things like that unless you want to be broke and sleeping on the side of the road, because your subconscious will make it happen. So if money's evil, that means you're supposed to stay away. So if you say, I appreciate money, I believe I deserve it, I believe I deserve financial independence and freedom, and make those affirmations, and that you say, I like money and understand the value of it, and that it provides me with financial freedom to enjoy my life. And you keep saying those are positive affirmations that will make a positive impact on your life. The minute you start speaking negative to you, those are the plants that will grow in your brain. It's just negative.
So if I say I want to take a 10-day vacation to Bermuda tomorrow, it'll happen if I say. How does that work? Like if I want to go to Hawaii or Barbados or Bermuda or Fiji next week, and I say I'm going to Fiji next week.
There's a lot of processes. It's not like I want to win $1 million. Done. Subconscious, take it over.
Because that's right.
There's a lot more to it. It's there's one thing of saying it. There's another of actually believing it. You can trick your brain, but the subconscious is gonna know. And if you're not truly believing that you deserve wealth or that you deserve the vacation, your conscious will take over and put negative thoughts back into your head, which will supersede everything.
So you have to really believe it.
And then you have to visualize it. And visualization is, part of meditation technique that sit quietly, calm the body. When you calm the body and your blood pressure goes and you're, very calm and in a very state of quietness and quieting the mind, that's when your subconscious is wide awake. And that's when you can talk to it. That's what meditation is. So when you're able to bring down the energy and the thinking from the conscious brain, your subconscious kicks in. That's when you can truly make some big
strides.
Absolutely. And actions
changes,
that you want. So in those cases, when you're meditating, you visualize the things that you want, and you feel it, and you feel like you actually visualize it. You can smell it, you can taste it, you can touch it. It's got to be so real that you already have it.
Sensory.
It's extremely sensory because we're all very, your brain maps from visual, aka television. Television's giving you visions. So television, it's telling you a vision. That's why they say you have to be very cautious about what you're taking in, and what you're watching. And yes, it's very important that your kids shouldn't watch certain things because it's mapping their brain, and it's mapping adults' brains to think a certain way. And that's why the media, you have to watch what you say. And I know what you watch. And I know we've talked about it in other episodes where it's like, hey, just be very cautious of the things that you're absorbing, because your brain and your subconscious is mapping your brain based on it.
So it sounds in that regard then that, if the subconscious has so much power and effect over us, and most of us aren't even necessarily aware of that, even when told,
right,
that the people are literally like programmable.
Correct.
In what they consume, what they watch, what they read, who they talk to,
right,
the people in their life. I mean, there's that quote about, the 5 people in your life that kind of define who you are, that you're closest with, because they're having an influence on that.
Right.
So I guess there's this very sensitive, large 95% part of us that we're constantly influencing unknowingly, and people need, we need to grow in awareness about that it would help people to grow in awareness about that, right? And because they could then have more control over their lives if they become aware of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think people are very reactionary, or a lot of people are very reactionary to their environment. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, you're making me mad. You're making me sad. And it's like, no. You have control over your brain and your thoughts and your reactions. No one else does. You decide what your reaction is to be, and I don't think we truly understand that. We make excuses like, oh, I have an anger management, or I have anger issues. It's like, well, then tell your brain not to have those. Who else is in control of your life, and over your thoughts? And when it comes to what you're talking about, I think there's the way to look at the subconscious and the brain is like a computer system. If you don't like your current reality, then put in a new program.
A new software.
New software.
Upgrade.
Retrain it, upgrade it. Maybe it's time for the upgrade, right? What?
A new version of Windows in it.
Exactly. Let me fix Instagram half a second.
Cool.
Instagram decided to...
This is our commercial. Hello, everyone.
Yes, do the commercial.
We're going to have a commercial. We will start having ads soon enough, but we're going into commercial real quick. Our sponsors we have all sorts of sponsors, and they are coming your way. But with that being said, we had perfect. And we're back. Every 15 minutes we go into commercial. We forgot about the commercial breaks. Aside from that, I think that's very interesting. And I think it's interesting that.
But I think to your point, there are theorists who are out there that, it's not something out of the realm of possibility that you could possibly hypnotize someone into doing something. And then there's why are there so many mass shootings? Maybe people are being hypnotized. And it seems so out of realm at first, but then when you really start to understand the human brain and the things that we know and the things that we don't know, and the things that we process and how hypnosis can change your brain patterns, it's not completely out of the realm that people are hypnotized to do certain things.
Well, what's the difference between meditation and hypnosis? How do people differentiate? Because they're different processes, right? Are they similar? Hypnosis, to me, would be more...
Well, there's a second party walking you through it. And then, whereas meditation is much more about the visualization of the things in your own head that you're wanting to formulate, right? Hypnosis is someone actually... influencing you, persuading you into you're a dog when I snap my fingers.
While meditation is more you in the moment,
and you tapping into your subconscious than someone guiding you through and changing your own thought process.
So that's interesting. And then you were getting to how this impacts just us as society, the world, what we consume and what we read and what we watch and who we have around us obviously impacts us a lot. And if it impacts us a lot, is it hypnotizing us? Is it persuading us? Is it influencing us to believe what we believe unknowingly when we think that we're creating our opinion about something, and really we're just influenced by what news channel we watch?
Well, correct. Are we being programmed from the government? It's not truly out of the realm of possibility, understanding the nature and the biological sense of our brains and how they operate. It's, it's almost like a Born Identity, Born Supremacy type of movie. Where do you think the premise came from? The writers understood how the brain works and that you can manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the negative part, where the, positive side is that, yes, you change your entire future and your present based upon your own thinking and the way you decide to tell your brain how to take in, feedback and take in certain ideas, and then you command it to act as such, whereas the negative would be possibly using it in a negative format, which you could potentially say that the Russian hack of the presidency was that type of rhetoric, where it was getting inside the subconscious, saying, lock her, having visuals, handcuffs. I mean, there's a reason why advertising works so well. It's about visual, and it actually changed people's brains,
people's opinion.
Thinking,
yeah.
I mean, that's its own sort of controlling of your subconscious.
And I feel like, a lot of people know, like a lot of the media knows this, psychologists knows this, like a lot of people know how much they're influencing. And I guess the question is how many people nowadays have independent thought? Who out there has their own thoughts about things? Like, we think that they're our own thoughts, but are they? Or are they our thoughts based on what we're listening to or what we're watching? So if I could encourage anyone to get something out of this, especially, is think about the awareness about the subconscious mind and think about your own thoughts, and if they're really your thoughts,
right, or
if you're just regurgitating what you've watched or what you've consumed or what you've...
And we've talked about it in previous podcasts where, maybe, it's very possible and likely, according to many scientists, that we live in a matrix type of world. Mm-hmm. And that our brain then operates like the computer system, and put in one program, take a program out, and you can change it out to whatever you want your reality to look like.
I mean, yeah, 100%.
And that's what the subconscious is. You're telling it what to do and how you want your reality to look. If you hate money, guess what? You're not going to have any, and it's if you believe in those things.
Really believe it, though. You can't just think that you believe it, right? Like, it has to.
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe that you are already successful and that you're and it can't be like, I want to lose 10 pounds. Mm-hmm. I'm fat and I'm 10 pounds overweight. Mm-hmm. That immediately is a negative affirmation. Your subconscious just heard that you're fat. You have to believe that you look stunning and physically fit and love everything about yourself. If you don't do that, you can't attract anything else in. You can't, you know what I mean? You cannot, just like the law of attraction, in order to find love, you must love yourself first.
And that's why successful people have success.
Correct.
Because they believe that and program themselves literally to believe that, and that in turn manifested within the world.
Correct.
Because they believed it.
They see it, they visualize it, they feel it.
Visual.
I mean, everything. They eat it. They can taste it all, and that's what happens when there's people who you would never think that are highly successful, and people ask them, "How were you successful?"
Because they believe.
Because they believe themselves.
So yeah, it really plays into that, the whole matrix, that whole simulation thing, just about how we're programmable and how,
It is interesting, though, to think like, as we become more aware, as humans become more aware of this type of thing, will we find out more that we've been told and have been programmed?
Yes.
Because we're becoming much more, we're trying to reach a new higher consciousness and a higher awareness.
Yeah.
Are we going to find out even more things that we were fed as reality when truly it's not actually...
I think we will. I mean, I think that more and more people are coming to take on this belief system, and that really and the subconscious and what we're talking about today is part of it.
Yeah.
It's a big piece of it, as well as, part of the whole simulation thing, and just everything. It all plays into this, I think, a longer term vision for humanity and just where things are going. And I think that both of those are big pieces of this new belief system that people are coming to believe, which has really taken a long time and it's still got a long way to go to come into fruition. But it really is a mix of the science of things and religion of things. It's kind of both.
Yeah,
metaphysics for sure. and bringing in both. And there's a lot of overlap, a lot more overlap than people would come to believe with both, religion and science. And I feel like that this absolutely, and psychology, and I think that this absolutely plays fully into that. Because there's more and more people thinking that, like, what we see and perceive is not real.
Correct.
That it's not real.
Right.
And that we, can we bend and mold what's around us to kind of, author our life into what we want it to be.
And that's exactly what the subconscious is.
And that's what the subconscious is.
So it's all blending together. It's all morphing into the same idea that we have to be much more aware of the way we approach our lives and what we tell ourselves, because we can program what we want in our reality. It's not just us being reactive to the world around us. You're creating your own reality based upon your own ideas and the thoughts and the things you say. Because the universe, I've heard Will Smith say this, it's like water. It's going to move in flux and flow around you. Right. But you have to, command and demand. Correct. And that comes from believing. Right. So I think that that's the big important thing here is people realizing their thoughts. And that's what they teach you in meditation as well, right? Like Headspace I've done, which is a great app, where you realize your thoughts are just like clouds passing in the sky or cars on the highway. Yeah. And that when you meditate, when you do Headspace, you realize they're just thoughts. So you let them pass like cars would or like clouds would. And the more you can come to identify those thoughts as being separate from who you are, that they're just thoughts, right, you start finding that inner peace more. Right. Right. So I would encourage anyone to start think about your thoughts. Yeah, for sure. And think of, stop yourself when you're about to say something negative. Yeah. Because that will alter your reality and you can't take back what you say. Because that influences. 100%. The subconscious hears it, even if you're half kidding or not. It's been proven. So the subconscious hears that. Correct. The subject, I can give countless stories of things that I've said just like jokingly that come to fruition, unfortunately, after like a week. And then I also have amazing things that happen when positive and negative. Absolutely. I visualize it. And it's not even that I was trying, it just kind of happened. And you can even test the theory, do something simple, just to see how much how much control you actually do have from the positive and the negative side. Wow. of life and reality and where you want your life to go. It's really quite outstanding. The one thing I was thinking about, as all these shows start to come up, all these new kind of investigative shows like How to Make a Murderer and all of these types of Netflix type of docuseries, it's actually interesting when you see, I think that's kind of opened our eyes to the manipulation that can happen when it comes to detectives pushing an idea in someone's head like you did this, and this coercion and this like you did this, even though the person didn't do it. They're actually getting inside that person's subconscious and saying and implanting the thought. It's giving them false memories too. Correct. you're actually retraining that person's brain. That's what's so scary is you're watching it on these detective tapes as they're interrogating them. And they're actually changing their brain patterns to the point where the person says, yes, I guess I did do it. Meanwhile, the person wasn't even there, and it's you have to be very careful about the things that are told to you and the things that you decide to believe, because we are all fed various things on a daily basis. Advertising, media, news, what people say to us, all that stuff. You have to be careful about keeping yourself in a very bubble type of mentality and not to allow the negative things to permeate into your brain and then alter your own thinking.
We'll take a 10-second commercial break real quick. Do you want to hit it live again?
Yeah.
I guess it fell off.
Yeah.
10-second commercial break. There we go.
Sorry, Insta. Having issues.
No, and I think you're absolutely right. And I think that what's especially interesting. Kira was for the Insta people. Kira was saying that it influences in detectives when they're talking to perpetrators and such. And how much is this going to influence stuff like courts,
right,
and law? And yeah, that absolutely has an influence. And they'll put what's called false memories into your brain. Like literally, we're so programmable,
right,
that this influences in all corners of society. And I don't know where that's going, but I think that the best thing people can do is become very aware of their own thoughts and become aware of how much what you're saying and what you're doing influences your subconscious, because that's having an impact on your life directly. And I think that where things are going in the bigger picture with that is very, very fascinating, because I think that how we think and what we tell ourselves is playing out right now in the world, in the big world. Just perception, how we're seeing the news, how we're seeing the government, how we're seeing what's happening around the world. Everything is our own view of, we're all watching our own world play out.
Yeah, and the perception of ourselves.
Of ourselves.
If you perceive yourself as a failure, guess what? You're not going to see success any day, I feel like that sometimes though that we misinterpret when we're saying things that we don't like, or we're mad at whomever, or we're mad at the world. Yeah.
That's really about ourselves.
Correct.
It's really about our own subconscious
fears and insecurities
is manifesting into the world.
Absolutely.
In that way.
I mean, one can absolutely argue that people that are deeply concerned, or a lot of people that are deeply concerned of the immigration politics, have a fear of anyone outside of their own race, and that's their own fear and insecurity as a human, that they're out to get their jobs and not based on any type of reality, that they then change their views and their politics to surround themselves around people that also fear that. So it's what we're trying to say is you have to be very conscious of your subconscious.
Be conscious
of your subconscious.
Of your subconscious.
And know that the things that you're putting into your brain on a daily basis, and I mean this in all aspects. This could be dating someone who tells you that, like, you're not doing enough, or you're not this, or you're not. The more negativity that someone puts into your brain, your subconscious eats it up and doesn't know not to, because it just is hearing it. And if you start to believe the things that people are telling you, that's when it becomes a massive problem. Like this happens when people have body dysmorphia, for example. They see themselves in the mirror and they're like, my God, I look so ugly. Meanwhile, they're gorgeous and thin, but they've rewired their brain so much to think that they have some kind of body issue. And it's an altered reality. They're not even seeing what we would see in the mirror.
So it's not only that, all the other stuff we talked about, but it is, it's your body, it's how you perceive yourself, it's medical, it can be illness related.
Absolutely.
There's even people that, like I've heard about, like the placebo effect, which is there's been tests where they've had a bunch of people take one pill and then a bunch of people take a sugar pill that isn't the actual pill. And the sugar pill people report having the same effect that the real pill people do.
So
because they think that.
Correct. And that immediately proves the subconscious that your mind, you tell your mind what it is, what is going on in the world. And then it believes it.
So it can believe something as even if like you're on meds for something and you take a sugar pill because you're fooled into taking the sugar pill. That sugar pill can have the same effect on you as the real pill.
There's many cases about like people with TB, and there was one story I read in a book called The Power of the Subconscious, and it was his dad had TB and the brother decided to come in, and he went to this guru, couldn't see the guru to help his dad out. So instead he found a piece of splinter wood on the side of the road and had it encased in a jewelry type piece and a necklace and said, Dad, I went to the guru and this is a piece from the cross and it has a massive healing elements to it. And of course, he found the splinter on the side of the road.
Right.
Had it just, put together and looks like some piece of jewelry. Meanwhile, he went to his father in the hospital and said, I went to the guru and this is a piece of the cross. And he said, you must wear this and it'll transform and get you healthy again. And he grabbed it from him and he put it on and he felt it. And then literally the next day he didn't have TB.
What? Really?
I know. This is the things that you almost have to worry about talking about it because people are like, okay, really? This sounds mumbo jumbo. But it's like,
people.
It happens all the time. It happens in my life all the time. And I just laugh it off. I don't even talk about it because it's just so ridiculous. It's just funny nonsense.
That is surreal.
Isn't that crazy? So medically, you can actually, the vast majority of medical cases can be influenced negative or positively. That's why they say praying. You pray over people. What do you think praying is? Praying is a type of meditation. And you're praying and giving good thoughts and good vibes and positive energy for that person.
So it ties into religion in that way.
Ties into religion. Hindus, they have positive affirmation beads that they wear. I mean,
prayer is positive affirmation.
That's all it is.
That's what prayer is.
You don't have to be part of a certain religion. It's, when people are saying sending you positive vibes.
Yeah.
That's what that is. It's so that you train the subconscious to say, you're fine. Like when I teach today in Pilates, and I tell my clients all the time, the Navy SEALs have this 40% rule where, they have to sit in these sub-zero temperatures for beyond human capability. And how do they handle it and get through training? The body can actually withstand way more than what the mind tells you. The mind, when you're working out, you're like, oh, this is terrible. And then you take a break. You've actually only hit 40% of your potential of what your body can do. Yeah. So your mind is telling you to stop when your body's only hit less than half of what it actually can do. So if you push yourself just a little bit more, you'll be amazed that you're actually not dying. And I tell my clients all the time, just tell your body it's okay. It's a lot of mind over matter where you're like, I'm dying, I'm sweating, I'm shaking. The mind starts oh, this is terrible. You have to say, hey, body, you're fine. We're just working out. We're not curing cancer here. We're just doing a plank. It's not going to be the end of the world. And honestly, the more you tell yourself that, the far easier it is to actually work out and not feel like you're dying. Because you're just it's just a mind game. It's all the mind games you play to get through life.
So it's all, this is a good example of, it's actually illustrated very well in fitness and with personal trainers and with the Marines, in the military, like you said. That's a great place where you can see it at work. literally you can see it in action when you're working out. Like I worked out with a Marine about 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah.
How'd that go?
I mean,
You're clearly still doing it.
I'm still recovering. Yeah, always still doing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Pushing the tires.
I mean, these Marines. No, he was great. This guy Aaron Mazuka, I think was his name. But he was really helpful in that he really would push me, and he would say, or he still does say, I'm still doing it. No, he would say, don't think about it. Like, don't think about it, because that's what they teach them in the Marines. Like that your brain. They know about subconscious, like that your consciousness, your brain is telling you to stop when your body can do a lot more. So he would always tell me that during our workouts, and it really does state, it holds true.
Yep.
The whole mind over matter or whatever. Mind over matter is definitely an influence. There we go. Yeah, mind over matter definitely influences.
But the mind, when people say that, like, oh, think positive thoughts and all that stuff, that's what they're saying. Think positive thoughts, because your subconscious hears every little thing you say, and it better be positive things or your life is going to be shit, is basically what that means. So like if you think of things and you think you're terrible and you think you're weak or you think you will be that, So that's why it's like you have got to change and retrain your brain. And it is not easy. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. But once you do, you don't know any other way to think. It's retraining the brain.
So
that's my thoughts.
They're lovely thoughts. And so if you could get anything out of this today, yes. Realize your thoughts, understand that your thoughts are like cars passing on the highway. They're clouds in the sky. And really come to understand that what you're saying and what you're doing and who you're surrounding yourself with and what news you're watching and what you're watching in the media and what you're seeing in the world and what you're reading. And all of that has an influence on you, on your subconscious. It is literally programming you. We are programmable beings by what's around us. And when we come to realize that more, it allows us to take control of our own lives, and to have independent thought. But it comes from that realization. That's pretty good. I think I nailed that. I think I should It's
an amazing pat on the back for yourself. Talking about positive affirmation.
It's been a good,
Wow, look at that. I'm amazing.
I mean, gosh,
mic drop.
Mic drop. Drop the mic. Speaking of that,
speaking of positive affirmations,
I feel like this was great.
Yeah, I love that. I think we all have to be much more cautious and cautious of our subconscious and what we tell ourselves on a daily basis, and to change our reality and our destiny.
Be conscious of your subconscious. Here at Launch Radio, we are the future. And the future is Launch Radio. Geoff and Kira.
Signing off.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you guys next week.
Later.